and welcome to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. In this podcast, we discuss mystical works of literature and how they relate to recovery. We hope you enjoy today's podcast episode.
Hello, this is Buddy C. Welcome to the Tao of Understanding Recovery Podcast. Today we have Lori and Brian and Oscar. Good to have you guys today. We will be talking about the story out of Thomas Merton's interpretation of the Chuang Tzu, the turtle, which is on page 93 in my book. What we do in this podcast is we talk about how Taoist principles relate to our 12-step recovery, more or less, and then how it relates to our entire life. Before we get to the story, I do want to talk about a couple of things. One, I want to talk about a resource at buddyc.org. The resource I want to talk about today is a list of podcasts that we have. If you go to buddyc.org and look in the menu, you'll find resources and a list of podcasts, among other resources. It's a full list of different podcasts that I have used that have been referred to me. Most are recovery related, but some are just basic spirituality. So check those out if you're so inclined. Secondly, we want to talk about a synchronistic moment. We find as we awaken spiritually that we can start seeing how our part in life is changing. It used to be that I was to force and push, but now it's more allowing and resting. As a matter of fact, there's a calendar in the episode notes that if you'd like a daily quote of just different quotes from AA stuff or basic spirituality or A Course in Miracles, any of those things, I've compiled those all into one calendar. And today's quote is from A Course in Miracles, lesson 189. Today, we do not choose the way in which we go to Him, but we do choose to let Him come. And with this choice, we rest. And in our quiet hearts and open minds, His love will blaze its path of itself. So it's moving from us seeking to us at rest and allowing and opening up. And please don't get stuck on the words with that, because what we find is all these words are a finger pointing at the moon. It calls God Him, and it says that we choose to let Him, and all these things we can get our mind twisted, or, well, I don't believe God's like that. Just lay that aside and just look at where the words are pointing. For me, those words are pointing to me allowing and letting, not me pushing and striving and seeking. The seeking is in the allowing, not in me figuring out the magic formula to make my life what I think God would, or blah, 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 blah. All those things that we do. Let's just allow today. All right. Our synchronistic moment, I'm just going to mention a quick one I had this morning, actually. I read this as a devotion early this morning. Then I met with a sponsee, and this was exactly what he needed with some things that was going on. And we used this as a guide for a situation that we discussed as sponsor-sponsee. So I'm not going to go into any detail. Just to say that I saw this early, and then it was exact, and that happens sometimes, but not all the time. And when I saw it and it spoke to me, I said, I wonder where I'm going to use this today. Sure enough, there it was. Those little moments that if we're open, we can see.
Hey, buddy, where can I find that at?
You can find that in the notes, in the episode notes. Just pull up the podcast, look in the notes, and there's a Google Calendar link. And you can add that calendar to your calendars in your.
That reading will be today's date.
Today's date.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. The turtle. Let's just read through this. Brian, would you like to read for us, sir?
Yeah, sure. The turtle. Chuang Tzu, with his bamboo pole, was fishing in Pew River. The Prince of Chu sent two vice chancellors with a formal document. We hereby appoint you prime minister. Chuang Tzu held his bamboo pole, still watching the Pew River. He said, I am told there is a sacred tortoise offered and canonized 3,000 years ago, venerated by the prince, wrapped in silk on a precious shrine, on an altar in the temple. What do you think? Is it better to give up one's life and leave a sacred shell as an object of cult in a cloud of incense 3,000 years, or better to live as a plain turtle dragging its tail in the mud? For the turtle, said the vice chancellor, better to live and drag its tail in the mud. Go home, said Chuang Tzu. Leave me here to drag my tail in the mud.
Thank you, Brian. So Chuang Tzu was fishing in the river. Prince came. Actually, the prince sent two vice chancellors with a formal document that said, we hereby appoint you prime minister. So they wanted Chuang Tzu to be prime minister. By the way, the same Chuang Tzu that's the same person that wrote the book, or so we think. And Chuang Tzu held his bamboo pole, still watching the river. So he never changed where he was looking. And then he tells the story about the turtle, the tortoise. And I'm told there's a sacred tortoise offered and canonized 3,000 years ago, venerated by the prince, wrapped in silk, in a precious shrine on an altar in the temple, as much glory as you could give. And he asks the chancellors, is it better to give up one's life and leave a sacred shell as an object of cult in a cloud of incense 3,000 years, or better to live as a plain turtle dragging its tail in the mud? And the vice chancellor answered, it's better for the turtle to drag its tail in the mud. So Chuang Tzu told him, go home, leave me here to drag my tail in the mud. I'm thinking about, for those new to the podcast, we do not read these stories beforehand. I don't want to study the story. I want to see what comes up in the moment as far as response. So most of the time, you can forward to the last 10 minutes of the podcast and get what this is really about. If you don't have time for the whole deal. You like that, Brian?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we talk through it in the podcast. So see where it goes. My first impression is my approach to spirituality. There's a Zen quote, to be enlightened is to be fully human. You know, I used to think that, well, let me say it this way. What I thought spirituality was is not what spirituality has come to mean. I thought it meant that I would almost float. I would almost levitate everywhere. You know, that I would do nothing wrong, that there would be no, I would be almost like Jesus Christ personified if I was really enlightened. I don't know if that resonates with anyone, but that's what I thought enlightenment meant, or being mature spiritually meant, or whatever name you want to put on it. And he's giving the two examples in this story, really. He's giving one of, if you're put in a place of honor, a place where it says that you're, in the story, it's talking about the turtle that was the sacred turtle, put on a shrine. For us, that would be, we're put on a pedestal, we're idealized, we're all those things where we're looked upon as something spectacular kind of thing. Or do we fully live, or are we fully human? Which are two, in my thinking, two totally different things. And there are several verses of the Tao Te Ching that address it. Oscar.
Yeah, thank you. For me, it resonates as a verse about power and prestige and they are such such how do you say, not divine, but the opposite of divine, devilish or something, devilish temptations, because they make me somebody. And then I read the end of the verse of last week, which says, in true self, the greatest man is nobody, and it's the man of Tao. So it's kind of spiritual path is kind of becoming nobody instead of becoming somebody. And I also remember this story when, but it's from the big book. There's a story that somebody has this relapse, and then he's in the hospital and so on. And then two other guys from AA come in, and they grin, and they ask, "Are you now really defeated? And can you accept that you are an alcoholic? And are you willing to follow the spiritual tools we can reach you?" And then he has a kind of protest where he says, "Yeah, but you are somebody and I am nobody." And they answer with a smile. And I think they smile because it's the other way around. They are the nobodies and he is the somebody. He's just not aware of the road that he's going to, the path he's going to walk is going to bring him from somebody to nobody as good as we can. I mean, it's an ego deflation, so it goes with ups and downs. It's not straightforward from somebody to nobody, but it's a very clear point of the 12-step program, I think. The ego deflation and ego deflation is kind of other way of saying become nobody. And I also interpret always this anonymous, which we all have in all 12-step programs, as a nobody. I go to meetings without my profession, without my admiration, without my success, without my failures. I just go there as an addict. That's it. An addict with a message, and hopefully somebody's there to hear it. So kind of, yeah, it resonates as anonymous, prestige. There's also the tradition about this prestige, so it's always trouble. Prestige is always trouble. And I also know this from my life. As soon as I I'm I get some admiration or something, or somebody, yeah, you're so good, or do you want to do this? I get lifted up and I feel good, and it's terrible because in the end it's going to turn the other side around, and then I'm a very destructive person. So it's also really dangerous in my case, except from all the trouble and the worries it brings with it. So I like to be the turtle with what is it? The in the mud. What is
In the mud.
Dragging
yeah,
his tail in the mud.
with his
Yeah.
tail in the mud? Yeah, I love it. I love it.
So what do we do if we get caught in prestige, Oscar? What do you do when that rears its head?
I go back to the silence. So you read this Course in Miracles thing. That's what I do. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. So I need to do nothing, and I rest in God. That's it. Or rest in Tao, and then I feel what needs to be felt, and then I do step 6 and 7, and I let it all go, and I go back to my day, just do the normal things like the dishes, but I really have to go back inside to the higher power, and there I'm okay, and let all the other things go. Also with this prestige things, yeah, it's really letting go and kind of what's the word, modesty, modesty in it, and humbleness, kind of humbleness. Cultivate the humbleness and compassion for others. It's not about me. The story is not about me, not anymore.
Thank you, Oscar.
Yeah, thanks.
I was looking for a Tao verse that I think it's verse 17. There's also a link in the notes for an online version of the Tao Te Ching that has a number of different translations that you can choose from to compare. I'm looking at verse 17 right now. When the master governs, the people are hardly aware that he exists. Next best is a leader who's loved. Next one's feared. The worst is the one despised. If you don't trust the people, you make them untrustworthy. The master doesn't talk, he acts. When his work is done, the people say, amazing, we did it all by ourselves. When the master doesn't talk, he acts. When his work is done, the people say, amazing, we did it all by ourselves. That's really the absence of self, isn't it, Oscar, like you were talking about? Absence of agenda, absence of ego. That's true spirituality in my thinking. I was also thinking about anonymity with this. If you use this story as an example, prestige is what killed the turtle. How did he say it? Is it better to give up one's life and leave a sacred shell, an object of cult, in a cloud of incense for 3,000 years? Is it better to do that or live fully human, or live fully turtle, whatever? And for me, the only way I can do that is keeping the focus off of myself. That when, and I'll relate this back to recovery, when I'm sponsoring someone and they ask a question, it's my experience that's important, not me. Because you'll see your experience is a lot the same as others' experience. And the reason it's worked for me is not because of Buddy. The reason it's worked is because of me laying down my weapons. Is surrender that makes recovery work for me. And what I share with others, it's funny, in recovery, the success came from failure. It didn't come from success. So why do I think it's all about me? I just failed, Brian.
You didn't come in on a winning streak.
Oh, no, I wasn't. Do I renew my country club membership or join AA? Which should I do? No, that wasn't the choice. That's good.
What you didn't realize, though, was joining AA was the start of that winning streak.
The weaker I get, the stronger I become. And then learning from the alcohol example of me not being able to beat it, not able to win, showed me how in the rest of my life that I could also surrender and get the same benefits I got from surrendering to alcohol. I can surrender to everything. And that's the 12th step, practicing these principles. What's the principles in all of our affairs? The principle is surrender. The principle is working the steps in a situation. I remember the first time that I realized that. It was years and years ago. I was in the real estate business at the time, and I decided to work the steps on my business. So I just substituted my business for alcohol in the steps. My real estate business is out of control. I can't manage my real estate business. I'm powerless over my real estate business. I believe that some sanity can be brought to my real estate business, or ever how you want to phrase it. I believe that you can bring sanity, restore sanity. I turn my will and my life in regards to my real estate business, the care of that, over to you. I do an inventory of my real estate business. What fears are there? Then I go and take those harms or fears to my sponsor and I talk to him about it. I do a 5th step. Then I see in step 6 and 7, what behaviors do I need to stop and what behaviors do I need to add? I'll list who I've harmed, who I've cheated, who I've not treated fairly. Ooh, that's close. That's too close to home, isn't it?
Yeah. Stop right there.
You see how, that's serious business. And then once I do that, I continue to watch and so forth and practice the program in all of my real estate business.
Like we've talked about before, praying that prayer helped me stay sober regardless of what it takes.
What fears in the 4th step, I'd see what fears I had related to my business and go through, do a thorough 4th step on the business and a thorough 8th step when it comes to that. Then I started practicing page 84 in regards to my business. When I had a fear that a house wouldn't sell, I had a lady that was in the business, and she just wasn't my favorite person. And so I'd pray for her listings to sell. Those things are practicing the program in my business. So I would encourage you, if your business or your employment is eating your lunch, for me, it was fear of financial insecurity that was behind decisions that I would make. And if I made decisions based on fear, they were never the right decision to make. Never. So this started opening my eyes when I did this. It opened my eyes to what was there. Like, how can I see this differently? All the turtle left, as far as the shrine goes, was a sacred shell. The turtle was no longer there. There's nothing about the essence of the turtle other than a shell, just an outside, nothing inside whatsoever. I think we can be a combination of these things. I don't see myself as being purely one way or purely the other. I think that's a degree thing. Me being the shell is getting less. I can see that. If we find ourselves the shell rather than fully human, rather than living, what can we do? I can flip it to gratitude. I can be grateful for what I have and know that I am not the source. That's one thing I can do. I could work the steps on whatever it is, just like we just talked about. I could use page 84, and we've talked about that a number of times, where we watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. When they crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. We discuss them with someone immediately. We make amends quickly if we've harmed anyone. Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Love and tolerance of others is our code, and we have ceased fighting anything and anyone, even alcohol. So this whole process helps us to stop fighting, lay down those weapons. I remember when my son was little, I told him if he did this particular thing again, that I'd have to discipline him. And he did it. And so I disciplined him. And he says, Daddy, why do I keep doing what I shouldn't do? I laughed and I said, well, if you figure that out, please let me know. Because I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I had a Suzuki King Cab pickup truck. This back in the 90s. And he was sitting in that little back seat, that's in those King Cabs, little bitty seat. He had his knees and he had his hands, his face in his hands and on his knees, and he was just shaking. He could not have been more contrite. And Daddy, why do I keep doing what I shouldn't do? And I was like, yeah, please, if you figure that out, let me know. And that's the thing with this story. Why do I keep seeking to be the shell rather than live? And being the shell is going to take my real life away. My ego is not going to improve my life. It's going to kill me. Or you could say fear, if you wanted to go the other direction. Fear is in pride or self-pity, either one.
All of us takes us out of the moment.
Yeah, it does, Brian. It does.
That's all we have.
Yeah.
We're giving up we're giving up all we have is this moment for something in our freaking head.
That's the shell. And all of this adoration and ego and pride, it kills us. Just like the shell, we become an object.
That's why I said I've always appreciated people that just fly below the radar, that seem to just be low key and just cruise around with their tail in the mud.
For me, the way that works is that I realize that everything I have is a gift. If I look at everything as a gift, can I take credit for a gift? I really can't. If I have something someone likes, so it was a gift. I did not figure this out. I am not the source. In other words, it changes the source when I look at things as a gift. That's real humility for me, is realizing that I'm not the source.
Earlier this week, we were up in Indy and we were out, and there was without getting too far in the weeds, out at the zoo, and there was a big plaque up there that had all kinds of donors. And I always appreciate finding the anonymouses, especially when there's some big numbers, because in my mind, I just appreciate that.
That takes a lot, Brian. It takes a lot to give a good amount of money and not take credit for it.
Yeah. And really all it is just some letters on a plaque.
In my meetings, AA meetings I go to, I don't carry money around much now. So I'll get some money from the ATM 20s, and the first meeting I go to for the month, I throw a 20 in the basket. And I find myself having to justify why I'm giving $20. Oh, I just do it once a month, and I started wanting to do all that. I said, there's something twisted about not just being able to throw 20 in the thing and not worry about it either way, whether people are going to think more of that, don't give a flip, or people going to think something the opposite. So that's one way that this shell can show itself, this trying to be the sacred shell rather than just living our life. Lori?
So I'm reading this a little different. Obviously, I get to relate it to my own recent experience here. He's offered a job, prime minister. And his response is, okay, so I can be canonized and venerated, wrapped in silk in the temple, or I can be a happy turtle in the mud. So the way I look at that is I can give up my life and happy, joyous, and free. I can give up everything and take your offer, or I can continue in my own world and live my life, and that's my choice. And it's interesting how we had some deaths in the family this year, and there's jockeying for position as head of the, I'm just observing, and I'm totally like that, Brian. I'm like here in the background. I'm not, because I'm not from the family and I'm not from the area. I get to witness, observe, and it's just curious. Like, my choice. I keep getting these great cards saying, take the lead. And it's like, maybe not. I know. I choose not. So it's just really interesting, synchronicitously, that this is the way this has shown up. I'm taking my time also. I think the pause, I read a book on turtles this year, is brilliant. Amazing creatures. Amazing how they heal, but they take their time. They are not on your schedule. So I chose this year to go back in my shell and just observe this time to heal and process and reestablish my own intentions about family and holidays and what have I inherited. What is the empty shell, the tinsel and the bullshit out there, and what's real? What do I really want? What is it in that Folgers coffee commercial? Whatever the ideal, according to our culture, is empty for me at this moment because I just inherited it. I have never chosen it intentionally. So I'm taking this year, this holiday season, to just go back in my shell, regroup, reconsider from a deeper space of my own internal HP, my own inner compass, my own wisdom, and then go from there and set the intention. And like I do in meditation, you set the intention, then you let it go, because let the universe figure out the details, as David G would say. It's like I can have a heart's desire, and that's brilliant, and we get to create that, and then I get to let it go, to let it happen, and go about my business with my tail in the dirt, happy as a clam. So this is great. It's good to see you guys again.
If I'm approached with this sacred option, this ego-driven option, my first question is, am I happy with my life? If I'm not happy with my life, that's something I would choose. So the first question for me is, am I doing the work and continuing to do the work that got us sober to begin with? Or have I gotten to a place of staleness that would allow myself to be tripped up when opportunities arise? that I trade my life for a shell, trade my life for all the adoration and the other things that come along with that. That's not to say, another way of looking at this, I think, would be, it's not to say that I could be venerated in ways that others would see as being great, that I personally had right sized. You know, if you're talking about just having things, let's say, or wealth, you know, it's not about having no wealth. It's about wealth not having you. You would be the shell in that regard. So there's all kinds of ways of looking at this story. I really like yours, Brian, of the moment, the present, the ever present moment. That fear takes us out of that moment, and or takes us out of the awareness that we're in the moment. And when that happens, it's just the shell.
Just a shell of a person.
Yeah. Because at that moment, I'm not there. I'm not where my feet are. I'm somewhere else. And all of this practice, I think the ultimate work of the practice is to bring us back to where the rest of nature and existence is the present moment.
And your choice, like what you're choosing in this moment. The choice is, do I go with the obligation and the title and the emptiness, or do I choose to stay on my own journey? That's what I hear. Yeah.
Yeah. But Lori, you could get a title and you could get those things and still be on your journey.
Yeah, but in that moment, you choose, right?
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, there's nothing wrong with title. There's nothing wrong with success. There's nothing wrong with it if you're right sized about it. If you don't give up your life to have it. The Bible talks about, you hear people misquote, it says money's the root of all evil. Well, it's not. It's the love of money that's the root of all evil. So it's not, there's people who have no money that have a huge love of money. And so it's an evil for them. It's about the love of this. It's not about it in itself. So in the same way, it would be the skewed desire that we're not right sized about what's going on. That's the issue. That's another way I think you could look at this story.
Buddy, if you're just that shell, you're going to want to fill it up with all kinds of
Oh, you're right.
things.
You're right. Yes.
So we just need to put away the ego and be a turtle.
If you're just a shell, you're filling yourself from all these external things. Through the turtle in the mud, there's not room for external things. There's nothing to fill. So am I fully living? Am I being present more moments of the day? Am I open to being helpful? Am I practicing the program? Those things.
Practicing principles in all our affairs.
Or am I entertaining my ego? I'm the shell when I'm doing that. And the way I know it, I'm trying to fill. I think these external things are going to make me happy. We know they do not. Good to enjoy, but they can't be a source of enjoyment. It's different between you thinking something's going to make you happy, something's going to fill a void in your life, and going on a vacation and enjoying it with whoever you're with and just being there. Totally different than, ooh, I'll be happy if I get to do this and this and this. You don't outwardly say that, or I never did, but when it was over, I felt disappointed. When I know I'm disappointed after something that I do, I know that I was looking for it as a source of something it could not give. Because no matter how much you fill the shell of the tortoise, it's not going to be any more alive than it was empty. All right, guys. Anything else before we close? Well, this is Christmas week. You guys have a Merry Christmas, and I'll see you before the new year. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy your family.
Safe travels.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, and have a good Christmas.
Thanks. You guys have a great week. See you next week.
Hello, this is Buddy C. I wanted to make you aware of several recovery-related resources that I've posted in the episode description. These resources include a list of recovery podcasts, a free sober meditation app, daily recovery email, shared Google recovery calendars. Hope you put some of these resources to use and have a great week.
Thank you for listening to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends in recovery.